Next up, things get a little bit hot with the song Burning, with an apostrophe instead of a G, of course. This was the third official single of the Homework album, possibly and technically fourth, but again, I'll get to that very soon in a bit. Inspired by the Chicago house music scene, this song kicks off with a clumsy drum beat before a weird, repeating, high-pitched sound fades in and runs across most of the track to the end, sounding very similar to, fittingly enough, a fire engine siren. Its bumpy yet ascending beat reminds me a bit of the crescendo song that we would eventually hear in Discovery. There's of course the music video that goes along with this sort of theme, intercutting between a boy playing with his toy fire engine during a family barbecue and a team of firefighters entering a skyscraper and having to rescue and evacuate a party attended by DJ cameos, most of them being people already mentioned back in the Teacher's song. And there's even a blink and miss appearance of the unmasked, sunglass and wig-wearing Daft Punk duo themselves. Yeah, bear in mind, this was before they came up and donned their iconic robot helmets. That would be by the time they were already working on the Discovery album when they would kind of come up with such, and mostly inspired by a desire to keep themselves hidden even during interviews and live and concerts and all that, mostly to keep an ominous image to them, which I gotta appreciate and admire. Well, anyways, I also really like how Daft Punk can and could tell and show a story with just their music alone, without relying too much on lyrics being sung or dialogue being spoken, with the music video itself only enhancing it. Also, the music itself is left to interpretation on whether the fireman stuff was just the boy's active imagination, or that the whole barbecue thing was a flashback to one of the firemen being the boy grown up and all. It is very interesting in that respect. And the 5 music videos of the main songs in question, Da Funk, Around the World, Burning, Revolution 909, and Fresh, were eventually collected into a semi-anthology film titled DAFT, A Story About Dogs, Androids, Firemen, and Tomatoes. I wonder if the video subjects were either coincidental or were intentionally made like what they are, just so they could justify the title itself. And despite such, and its sneaky, clever acronym, none of the videos are really explicitly connected story-wise, unlike Interstellar 5555, which had leased all the songs of the Discovery album into one storyline, into an hour-long feature film, and Electroma didn't have any Daft Punk songs in it. Not even from the Human After All album, which was very recent. But hey, at least that could be considered a film as well. 'Tis a shame though, I was looking forward to the next anthology film, Punk, a story about pears, umbrellas, nurses, and kangaroos. Afterwards, we enter the Indo Silver Club, centering around a looped and warped sample of Hot Shot by Karen Young. This is another underrated track from Daft Punk's discography. It begins with an interesting fade-in, making us feel like we're actually entering this vibrant, colourful, and energetic club. It also has this proto-Ibiza vibe to it, which I do like and enjoy. I can even imagine hearing this playing late at night at some cool, exotic rave near a beach or something, in a place like Barcelona, Sri Lanka, or Ibiza, like I mentioned. Now, on a side note, remember when I said that there were 4 singles of Homework, 4 main singles of Homework, but technically 5? Well, you see, this was made a single as well. Kind of, sort of. Long story short, after Daft Punk made a brief deal with Soma Quality Recordings and first released Da Funk, both under the label, back in roughly around 95, Soma themselves released Indo Silver Club as a standalone 12-inch single in February of 1996, less than a year before Homework's eventual release, with side B, or part 2, being the song we'd hear on the album, and side A, or part 1, presumably being an early version of it, both still apparently using some sample from the same Hotshot song. And on top of that, they released it without any artist credit or listing on it whatsoever. I kind of wonder how someone managed to get this out there sooner, to begin with or without Daft Punk's permission, if they even asked for permission at all, or even get any permission from Daft Punk. No wonder they cut a deal with Soma and went ahead with Virgin Records. Apparently Soma will just get away with releasing tracks without any credits. What a ripoff. Then there's the penultimate track, Alive. This is apparently a reworked version of their first ever song and single, The New Wave, first released under Soma's label far back in 1994. Although aside from maybe a faint background percussion beat, I don't really hear too much resemblance between the two, but that could just be me. As for the Alive track itself, it is definitely a raving headbanger and a definite closure to the album, in all the good ways possible. It has this euphoric feel to its melody and a sense of resolution and closure after spending nearly over an hour, definitely over an hour, through its adventurous music that we've been listening through. It is both thumping and soothing at the same time. The name itself would eventually be adapted and adopted into Daft Punk's 2 live albums, Alive 1997 and Alive 2007. Get it? Because Alive as in live, as in a live concert. Never mind. And so, Homework finally closes out with Funkad. Basically, a 50-second clip of the funk being played backwards. I guess hence the title, but wouldn't that technically be Nuff Ad? As in Knuf? Nuff Ad or Knuff Ad? I don't know. It's one part hidden track, except not really hidden, and one part Last Note Nightmare, although hearing something in reverse may sound creepy to anyone at first, but you eventually get used to it after multiple listenings. I mean, it's a short thing after all. I guess it's because the funk is the most known, familiar, and recognizable out of the Homework songs, they went with that, but if they were going for a bookend kind of thing, wouldn't it make sense to reverse a bit of Daft and Direct instead? Yeah, who knows. But anyways, after all that said, does Daft Punk's Homework still hold up after nearly 25 years? Absolutely yes! It definitely does. It is definitely a game changer, if not still a major influence in the scene of house music, electronic music, post kind of disco-y music. It kind of has it all, and it would help set the stones for Daft Punk for the years to come with their Discovery, Human After All, and Random Access Memories. If it weren't for the likes of Da Funk and Around the World, we wouldn't have something like One More Time, Human After All, Robot Rock, and Get Lucky, and we wouldn't have the soundtrack to Tron Legacy. But on its own, it's still a very good album. There are a lot of good catchy beats here, there are some clever use of samples, and a lot of the songs are definite highlights like Da Funk, 909, Around the World, Indo Silver Club, Fresh, just to think of a few. And I just don't know what else to say that no one else has. It's just a revolutionary piece. And the fact that these two French folks did it at home, mostly by themselves, still impresses me to this day, especially considering the time it was made. So if you're into that kind of French, European, Euro electronic music, I say give this one a go. That is assuming you haven't actually listened to it already. But if you're generally familiar with Daft Punk and you only know a lot of their iconic tracks like Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger and The Funk and Round the World and Burning, I'd say listen to the whole track. Sure, some of it may drag on a bit, especially considering it's arguably the longest of their few albums. I say give it a chance, give it a listen through, and see what you get out of it. You might get something, might hear something new out of it you may have never heard before. For now though, next time we go back to the late 70s again, with thankfully a much shorter album. This time though, we're going to be watching some pigs on the wing.